And that's why they call it a neon sign. What's going on, everybody? This is the Cover Band Confidential Podcast, the podcast for cover band musicians and band leaders to learn how to rock more and suck less. In Atlanta, Georgia, I'm Adam Johnson.
In Greensboro, North Carolina, I'm Dan Ray.
Go ahead and wish everybody who is out there in the States a happy Memorial Day. That is the day that we are recording.
Yes.
I just got back from a Memorial Day / birthday party for my brother and got to spend time with my fam and my dad and all that good stuff. And things are just... The worm and the fuzzies, they're all abound.
Awesome.
So I'm feeling
very good.
Fantastic.
Very good.
How has your weekend been?
Real quiet. We didn't do anything. It was great. It was great to not do anything. Kid got a little fidgety.
Nothing is sometimes good.
Yeah, you know, a 10-year-old child at home with parents doing nothing gets to be like flubber, you know, ricocheting about. And so we did have some of that. But apart from that, it was a very nice, quiet weekend. It was a good time.
So we just sent our youngest off to sleepaway camp. And our oldest is in Tennessee with his grandparents, so we are kid-free.
Party time.
Also, today was the day that we decided to put the little one off of his ADHD medicine. And boy, howdy, it, you know, sometimes you go, maybe it's not, medicine's not necessary, and you find out. And I had that experience myself because I thought I could take a medication vacation this week also. And I just sat on the couch and realized that like my give a damn just didn't exist.
Huh.
And I was like, oh crap, I gotta go take my Adderall. And that's what I need to do in order to get stuff done.
Listen, better living through chemistry, man. I'm all for it.
I mean, it is what it is. If I could do it without it, I would do it, but I didn't, and I can't, so I did.
Then there's no need to. You got the pills. Do it.
Yeah. Why not?
Why put yourself through like, oh, I shouldn't be da-da-da. That's ridiculous.
But it was literally, I was sitting there, I was like, my give a damn does not exist. Like, what is this? I had to. So that's a thing I learned about myself this week.
Good.
My reliance on pharmaceuticals remains.
Know yourself.
So this week has been interesting because we had this really great conversation about how to leave a band in a eloquent way. And unbeknownst to me, our new guitarist was going through some stuff and realized he needed to exit the project. So while we had already kind of shared the live stream and all of that, I got a message from him just basically kind of bowing out in a respectable way.
Yeah.
And so I got to share that on the Patreon feed that was like, hey, if you are thinking about quitting a band, here's a good way to do that.
Yeah, here's the template.
Yep. And it wasn't necessarily him quitting. It was more of I'm not able to do this the way that I want to do it. It was very much it's not you, it's me, which is, I mean,
whatever.
People kind of joke about that, but I don't begrudge him whatsoever. I mean, we got to look at these things from a realistic standpoint. We're in our 40s. We're married. We got kids. We got lives outside of this entity.
A lot of us have more than one project.
Right. And he was just basically like, I can't do this the way I want to do it. And so I'm not going to try and kind of squeeze this in, shoehorn it in. But he didn't say, hey, don't call me. He just said, I can't be first call. Totally respectable.
Love it. Yeah.
And he will still get a call every single time we got something coming up. It's the right to first refusal. I feel like that's a totally realistic, healthy, normal way to approach these kinds of things. And that's where we're at.
And as a band leader, as long as your bench is deep enough, it's really no harm.
Nope.
So yeah, it's great.
No issue whatsoever. I mean, the timing is not lost on me. It seems to be that when we hit topics, they seem to kind of play themselves out in real life. And I guess we'll see how this week goes. This week's topic is another submission from our listener base. And I think it's a good one. Definitely a good one to dig into. So you got some, I've been really just spouting off about new gear, and you got something new. And if you're watching the live stream, it's actually right there in frame.
In plain sight or on YouTube. Yeah, you're seeing it right now. So here, and I apologize to those of you only listening and not watching right now, but I'm pointing up in the frame, and what's above my finger in the frame is my logo, Dan Ray Live Music, with the vintage mic on it, the Super 55 that I use when I play, surrounded in a red star. People have referred to that as like a communist red star. It was not my intention when I put it on there.
Okay, comrade.
But yeah, if you imagine that probably puts it vividly in your mind. So yeah. And now I'm holding up a little remote control, and I'm going to push the red power button, and that thing lights up.
Hey.
Oh, it's a neon sign, is what it is. Dan Ray Live Music, and I am so in love with it. I can barely see straight. It's it's on its lowest light setting, and I could put it higher. The camera would adjust, so you wouldn't see anything. Those of you watching, but
Right.
it gets bright, and then it has a bunch of like flashing modes that I will never, ever, ever use, that are all driven by the little remote here. It's not neon; it's actually LED strips, but they get very bright, and they're in two different colors. The Dan Ray and the outline of the star is white, and the mic and the live music is kind of light blue. And they come to me from a company that just did a good job of Facebook marketing. They kept showing up on my feed, and I kept being interested. And so I said, well, what could it cost? The company's Orant Neon, ORANTNEON.com. And I can fully recommend.
Okay.
So you send them your logo, they send you back a proof, like a design. You approve it or give updates. The one behind me right now is 20 inches across, which is their smallest size. They get big, but at 20 inches, it was $350 for the piece. And then I said, look, okay, but my use case is not attaching it to a wall. I'm going to be schlepping it around gigs and throwing it out of cars, and
Yeah, I was about to ask you.
how does it deal with that? And he said, well, it's pretty sturdy. I was like, okay, but you don't know my like situation. He said, well, we can make you a custom box that'll protect it. I said, how much? He said $100. I said, fine, do it. So all in, it came to $450 plus some shipping and some tax for this light behind me, and a custom box that I got to tell you is it's probably the sturdiest case I own. It's impressive. This box that it came in was really good. I mean, butterfly clamps, and I mean, it looks like a road case.
Nice.
But in fact, when I pulled this thing out of it, it is a sheet of acrylic and these rubbery LED strips attached to it, and it really feels like I'd have to do something very violent to damage it. It's light and sturdy on its own. The guy was kind of trying to talk me out of the case, and I can get how I'm still glad I did it, but I have no concerns about its sturdiness. And then the other thing was, I said, look, how am I gonna stand it up? How am I gonna, what's the?
That was my next question.
Yeah, here I am playing an acoustic show, and where's it gonna was gonna lay on the floor? He said, no, it comes with a stand, and he showed me a picture of this piece of cut vinyl, kind of taped at the back that made like a foot. And I was like, fine, I'll set that up on my little side table. It'll be fine. Well, when the apparatus came, it did not have that. And I reached out and said, listen, love the sign, but I didn't get that foot you were talking about. And it did take like a day to get a response on that. And the response was, hey, no problem, pick one of these. And there were 3 links, and they were links to Amazon, to tripod stands that would hold this thing.
Yep.
I think what happened was they realized they didn't include like a 10-cent piece of vinyl, and then instead sent me a $20 thing from Amazon, which is like speaks a lot for their customer care, and all, like I was impressed that they did that. So it's right now behind me, hanging on the stand that they sent me. It's a little plastic tripod. It won't hold up to a ton of gigging, but it was a really nice gesture, and I think it stands it up very nicely. And overall, I'm really impressed with the company and the product and the customer, the care after sale. All very impressive. I think I can fully recommend them.
Well, so from my perspective, it looked like it was sitting on a mic stand. So, from the outside,
Yeah.
looks like it's pretty solid.
Yep.
So I'm very surprised that there was something else, because I was like, are you about to tell me that they figured out a way to like screw this thing into a mic stand? Because that would be genius.
The stand that came to me, and it was a standalone product from Amazon, it's a stand with a tripod foot, and then 2 sort of clamps that screw onto the stand at the top and bottom, and kind of capture the top and bottom of the sign.
Right.
So you totally could put those 2 clamps around your mic stand and have the sign just right there in front of you on your mic stand, if that's how you wanted to do it. I hadn't thought about that, but it's a darn good idea. I might actually throw away the cheesy plastic tripod stand and actually just do that instead with the 2 sort of clamp bits that come with it. It's not bad.
Yeah, my next thought was like, is there a way to like 3D print like a bracket that you could screw into like an existing stand?
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
That's kind of where I'm very much in the 3D print world, because we got one.
Yeah.
And I was, last week we were talking about Maestro DMX, and I printed out this bracket that you can use to sit it into a rack. Now, I didn't get the scaling just right. This is one of those weird situations where like most software for printers is in millimeters and this is in inches, and I didn't get the scaling quite right. So this one is a little too small, and I've tried a couple of other things and didn't quite get there, but I've used 3D printing to do all kinds of really interesting stuff. I mean, as far down as like, this is the thing that I put my inner monitors on when we're not recording.
Sweet. Nice.
Yeah, there's all kinds of actually I got a pattern for 3D printing a like a Jazzmaster style guitar. You can
Wow.
you can print one
Okay.
at home. I'm not quite ready to throw, that much filament
That's a lot
into
of
the
filament
ring.
to play with.
It's
Yeah.
right, and for it to just go sideways. I
Well,
don't think I'm ready
yeah,
yet.
the thing with 3D, I mean, I don't have one, but my understanding is like at any moment, if it got slightly screwed up, like the whole thing is offset of itself and you're screwed. That's
Yeah, typically the whole thing falls apart during the first step. It's the thing where you get the spaghetti builds is when like the adhesion to the bottom mat doesn't happen.
sure.
So typically when things go bad, they go bad pretty early, and you can, as long as you're like watching it, you can stop it before you blow a bunch of
Well, that's good.
materials on it.
That's good.
But yeah, it's something that it's not foreign to me. We've definitely had a couple of botched projects. So
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm gonna turn this guy off because it's messing with my camera here. But again, Orant
Yeah.
Neon, ORANTNEON.com. I liked working with them. It was fast. It was good. I don't know if the price was right. I'm happy at the money I spent. So, doink, it's off.
there you go.
On with the show.
Well, speaking of show, let's go to reviews. This one is from Joe Hopkins, and Joe is actually a member of the Patreon, and he was a part of the Facebook group before he hopped into the private group.
Love Joe.
And this was a DM that he sent to me, and then I was like, hey, you should share this with the rest of the group. So this ended up in the Rockmore channel, which is one of the ones where we talk about, victories, things that we've accomplished.
We also have a Suck Less channel.
We do.
Yeah.
And that's when that's the place where you get to complain about
commiserating and yes, belly aching, yes.
So Joe said, big news. Me and my wife's cover duo booked our first paid gig. It will be this fall. Thank you so much to Adam and Dan for the So You Want to Play Acoustic Gigs episode and for building the community and information base. Listening to all the episodes and being a part of the Slack has given us the motivation and tools I needed to get where we are.
So cool.
So
cool.
I mean, that is honestly why we do what we do. And it was also cool because that particular post sparked a bunch of other posts from other people who have kind of hit some milestones that they wanted to share. And it warms our hearts that the thing that we decided to do 4 or 5 years ago has impacted other people in the way that it has. So the warm and fuzzies are very high this week.
For sure. And I love that a conversation about giving yourself a deadline. The story I used about throwing your hat over the fence, has inspired Joe and some others. And, for sure myself, I am busily making tracks and stuff for my 80s band that has a gig on the books and has essentially nothing to show right now. I couldn't put that show on right now. I could do maybe 20 minutes. But I'm deep in my exploration of how to build tracks for it and how to make it all come together. I had this idea. I'll share this since we're talking about these sorts of things. I think it came from Mike Schulte, but I'm not sure. If I'm misattributing that, I apologize. But somebody from the Slack talked about having an audio bed that they walk on stage to.
Mm-hmm.
So I built myself and posted in the Slack just earlier today a whole sequence of sort of 80s iconic pieces of audio. Where's the beef and other sorts of clips with the drum intro of 1999 behind it. You can hear it, right?
Yeah.
So I just looped that a bunch of times and put these sort of 80s-ish things behind it into a track of the whole intro of 1999, all instruments, and then a cue where everything but the synth drops out. And the idea is the band will come in right at that moment. But we've got about a minute and a half of audio that we can walk in and, do something and pick up our instruments and whatever, fist bump, whatever we're going to do before the cue says, band in. And we take over for the drums and bass and guitar that are on the track. I've been busy on this project. I think I have a logo design, like all of this stuff is pulling me into action because I threw a date out there and somebody said yes, and now I have to come up with a solution. And it's just the most potent trick I know for getting yourself into action.
100%.
Yeah.
We're thinking about doing the same thing for the 90s thing that we've got coming up in July, because I want there to be something more than just a song one, song two. Let's make it interesting. Let's make it compelling.
Yeah.
Let's stand out. And in our world, we've got a client that wants to book us for a date in 2025, and they're going to that event. And so we've got future stuff that's writing on it. So, I mean, to me, the pressure's on. We got to make sure that we stand and deliver. And we're getting in the room this week because we've got a gig this coming Saturday. And it's not like our standard run of the mill situation. We're doing kind of like a backyard crawfish boil kind of thing. And they want a different kind of flavor than what we normally do. We are going to add Mr. Brightside, which is a song that we've never done. And just kind of living in, we're trying to be less attention grabbing initially, but also kind of pivoting towards the end of the event because it's an afternoon kind of thing. We're kind of there as wallpaper until, attention shifts focus. So, we're still kind of working through all of that, but it's the first time we've gotten in the room in a while, and we've got a bunch of dates that we've confirmed. I got some sub work that's got to come in, and we've got some things that we've got to hammer out. But like this gig is kind of the beginning of our busy season. We've got a lot of stuff coming up, and we're ready to just kind of kick the tires and light the fires and get going. So
very cool.
It's been a while, and I'm excited.
Very cool.
And I have no doubt that you guys are going to be able to just crush this.
Yeah. We picked out our first dozen songs to learn, and I'm busily making tracks for them. Here's one thing that's kind of cool is for the first time in the history of this project, I won't be necessarily locked to guitar. There'll be tracks that don't include guitar. Mm-hmm. There's no guitar in the original. So I won't be playing it. I will set it down, and I will get to be a vocalist and take my mic out of its stand and actually run around some. That? Like I haven't gotten to do that with this gig at all. So yeah, it's fun.
It's funny you mentioned you were talking about 1999. We were dropping our youngest off at Sleepaway Camp, and we stopped off, and this Jeep pulled up. It was purple, and the name of the Jeep was Purple Rain. It was written in like the font, and they had like the Prince logo and stuff on the side mirrors and all of that. And I was like, I'm sorry, I have to take a picture of this. I'm in an 80s band. This is just perfect. And they were very, very nice. So
see if they'll come. See if they'll park their car at the shows.
We'll have to see.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into the main topic this week. This is another one that came in through honestly, through the website. So we've got a submission form that you can fill out if you want a specific question answered on the podcast or just through us. We got a really interesting one about starting a tribute band from scratch that Dan and I are just not quite ready to dig into. There's a lot.
Gotta do some backgrounding on that one. Yeah.
Yes. Because we just don't have the answers that they're quite looking for at the moment. So we're going to try and do our due diligence, and then maybe it'll make it onto the show at some point. But this may be an off the books kind of thing because it's definitely a lot to work through.
You know my rapper name, right?
Tell me.
Dude Illigence.
Dude Illigence. I love it. Love it.
Yeah.
So this came in from a guy named Kent Anderson, and he's got a band called Petty Larceny, which is a great name.
Yeah.
And you'll understand why in just a second.
Yeah.
So Kent says, "Hey guys, great podcast. Love it. Have left a 5-star review, but apparently something went awry. So somewhere along the line, he dropped us a good review. We just haven't seen it. Yeah. I played with an award-winning and popular Tom Petty tribute in central Massachusetts. We play throughout New England, anywhere from performance venues to bars to outdoor venues and town shows. One of the things we struggle with is stage banter, things to say to start a show, between songs and so forth. Part of the issue is that our excellent lead singer, their Tom Petty, I suppose, really sings his brains out, so he's often thinking about the next song and not necessarily in the headspace to communicate with people in between songs. We've tried scripting things a little more, but that just puts more of a memory burden on him, and he doesn't use an iPad. What is your advice? Is it okay for someone else to be the banter person? What are things that work with banter and things to stay away from? Thanks for any and all insights." So big thanks to Kent for reaching out. And this is something I feel like we've talked about before, but bears repeating.
Yeah, and their case is a little special. Did you check out their website?
I did not. Tell me about it.
It's good. So first of all, a couple things that I loved about it. At the bottom of the front page, there's a video that on its title and the name of it coming in from YouTube is Show in 30 Seconds.
Love it.
Love that so much. Like it
That's
tells you
exactly
how
what we're
much.
looking for.
I actually think it's 60 seconds. Correction, but still, it tells you how long it is. I'm like, yeah, I'm in for 60 seconds. It's not a problem, right? I do think that they are not a strict tribute in as much as they have male and female lead singers.
Okay.
So there's not like a people playing particular characters in the original show. I don't think there is a Tom Petty in their show.
Got it.
So it's not as strict as some covers I've seen, but I'll tell you the videos I saw and the audios I saw, really clean, really nice. I think they're a really good act and lots of great video evidence of draw and crowds having a good time. And yeah, I was super pleased with the website I saw. So that changes the question, right? Is there something, if there's not a Tom,
Yep.
if there's more than one person being the lead vocalist for different songs, does that take some of that front person pressure off of our excellent lead singer? And he is, by the way, he's really, really good. And I think the answer is yeah, some. I have seen bands where the singer sings and then like the bassist talks to the crowd. And it's not that they didn't, it just, I had to get over something as an audience member that the singer isn't the one talking to me, which is just my expectation. But I do think that's the crowd's expectation. I don't know how hard it is to overcome that expectation, but I did have a moment of like, isn't it funny the singer sings but then kind of goes away between songs?
Yeah.
It felt weird. It did feel weird.
Yeah. When you were saying like the bass player talks, the first example that jumped out at me is Fall Out Boy, because Patrick, who is their lead vocalist, is not the mouthpiece of the band. Their bass player, Pete Wentz, is the guy who does all the talking in between songs. And if anything, like their singer is kind of like the foil to him. But it is a thing, like if you look at their specific dynamic, the bass player is the one who's the main lyricist. The singer is just, he's a singer and he's a good singer. And so that's what he does. And there are other examples of that kind of thing. And, in my band, my wife is in the group.
Yep.
And she is the only person on stage that doesn't have any other focus in between songs.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've got to tune my guitar. And so she's really good at filling that space. And also she's just a more personable, like outgoing person. And so in our world, she is the front person who is engaging with the audience, who is very locked in and is doing a lot of the talking. And then I play the part of maybe like the foil of that. And that's just like a personality thing. She's definitely the more gregarious, outgoing, and I can kind of be the sarcastic, throw a quip out here and there. Every once in a while I have like a moment of genius, but she's the one who's putting the work in. And that is one of her very unique skill sets that I 100% appreciate, because it totally adds a level to our live show that wouldn't be there if she wasn't there. So totally throw that her way. She gets all the flowers.
Yeah, I think with fronting teams, right? Co-front people. I think it's a really powerful dynamic to engage with, because I'm still working with Taylor to be comfortable with banter and ready to just be on mic. I did lots and lots of theater improv as a kid and a college kid. So something can come out of me, and I trust that, and it's part of what makes me be able to be on a podcast too. Like I don't have to pre-think a lot of stuff, because I gotta have some confidence that something okay will come out of my mouth. Not everyone has that. That's a developed skill, and I'm working on developing that with my current co-front person. In my last project, I co-fronted with a guy who was like distilled charisma.
Yeah.
Like everybody wanted to be his buddy. Everybody wanted to be his, and like everything he said was perfect. Always. Yeah. That was not something he developed. He was just kind of born with it. And so in a lot of cases, he was the voice and I was the foil, in the same kind of way that you and Amber are. Which is, it's a fun dynamic. You can play with that, and you can subvert it sometimes, and you can argue sometimes on stage in a way that makes the show interesting. Like, there's a lot you can do with that. So that's fun. I think also we set the bar higher for ourselves than it really needs to be. A lot of times if you just if you shout out like, everybody having fun tonight,
Yeah.
like that's all it takes to have the crowd be connected with you and engaged, and they get to roar back, and that's all it is. It's not, you don't have to come up with something clever. It's just a moment of sort of, I'm not playing music now, so I'm going to say something to you and you're going to say something to me, and that's all it is.
Well, yeah, and I think the thing that people just need to understand is that the intent of the between song banter is to maintain the energy level
Right.
or
Right.
keep that engagement happening.
Yep.
So you don't need to reinvent the wheel. It is like, are you having a good time?
I mean,
Are you still with us?
for our purposes, we're not doing like singer-songwriter storytelling. Let me take 20 minutes between songs to set up this next thing, tell you
Yeah.
where it came from and who I was with when I wrote it. And
Yeah.
this isn't that, right? In fact, I set my show up so there's very little need for banter because we're bang right into the next song. There's
Right.
really no space for it.
Well, and that's a good point because you were talking about the intro with like the different sound clips and stuff. You can engineer your show where like there is no in between banter. You can just program that stuff in.
Yeah.
So you could just put sound clips or movie whatevers and literally say nothing.
Listen,
in between songs.
My plan is when we set up the break, the last song before break, the track will end with "After these messages, we'll be right
back."
Exactly. We all know it. Yeah.
So here's my confession. The way that I keep thinking about this 90s gig is like the band was frozen in ice during MTV Spring Break 1998.
Perfect.
And I just want to keep saying like, Spring Breakers, make some noise.
Yeah.
And I know that like it would get so annoying so fast, but that is exactly what I want to do.
That's the vibe. I love it.
We got Carmen Electra coming up right after
this. That's right.
Stay tuned for the grind.
Yeah, stick around for Tia Carrere.
Oh God, that would be like. But that's the other thing you got to be careful about. Is like the thing that's funny to us may not necessarily be, what would actually work for everybody else.
Or at best, it's a one-time joke. Like you're not going to get away with that all night.
Yeah. Adam, who's on the live stream, said what Dan's saying about the ex-theater kid improvisational whatever is very true. And I think that that's actually a really good suggestion for a person who's like, I don't really know how to do this.
Go take an improv class.
Take an improv class.
For sure.
Every single town has one.
Yeah.
And you just have to kind of learn the general like rules of that world where you basically just don't shut things down. Find a way to add to whatever it is that's being said.
Yeah.
Or create a thing out of thin air and just think of things that make sense in that world.
Yeah, but it's all about keeping the vibe open and keeping the energy going. My child has been, who is now a theater kid, has been in an improv class for 6 months. And it was parents' visit week last week. So we went to a few of the classes she's taking there, and we did go to the improv one. And I'm not going to say my kid was the best improviser there, but she totally was. She completely was. And part of it was like, it was the way she adapted immediately to whatever the scene was that she was stepping into, and then pushed it in ways that were unexpected. And that's similar. It's similar. You here you are on stage. If you're going to do something, have it be interesting, right? I can't remember who it was, but like somebody famous talked about their acting coach giving this one piece of advice, which was, don't be boring. So
that's it.
Don't be boring. For sure, in your banter, don't be boring. Scripted, by the way, is boring. Don't do scripted.
Sure.
Terrible.
Like, I do remember, like, when I was playing original music, there was a group that we played with that had a script. And as long as it was the first time seeing them do it, it was probably great. But as the band that played with them over and over again, like, all right, here they go.
Here it is.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And because listen, it is show business, and the reality is that you are going to get yourself into a routine that you're going to do over and over and over again. And once you kind of get some sort of established reputation, your job is to find ways to engage your existing audience while still being appealing to new audiences.
Right.
And kind of finding the balance between those things. But when you're just getting started, coming up with a couple of bits is totally fine. The ones that I always did was like, we would introduce ourselves as members only and then like halfway through the set we'd be like, we're still members only,
Right.
like just stupid stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a way to show, one, that you're having fun and that you don't take this too seriously. But it could literally be name a venue, make some noise.
Oh, for sure.
Every 4 songs.
Absolutely. Again, everybody having fun tonight.
Yeah.
It's stupid. It's stupid, but it works. I'm working on some kind of gag. It's not fully formed in my head yet, but my new band's called Big in the 80s, and my chick singer was born in 2000. So like something about like we were big in the 80s, except for her. I don't know. That's not it. But
yeah, you got
something in that ballpark. But that's not it. No, for sure, that's not it. But something. I'll work with her on that. We'll have it be something fun. But that might be kind of a scripted moment. And in the places where I've had this sort of banter stuff really evolve over time, it always started with some gag that happened on stage that was hilarious and it killed us.
Yeah, just something organic, 100%.
Yeah. Like your kick move in the Duran Duran song, right? Yeah. Like it's somebody did that once and like it kind of stuck. And so it didn't get scripted exactly, but it's kind of what we do now. That's totally valid. And as long as you can own it every time like it's the first time, like you just came up with it, which is what acting is, by the way, saying words like you just thought of them.
Yeah.
That's all good.
Well, and there's so many ways to go about this, because the initial pain point is the person that is supposed to be in charge of this just doesn't do this naturally.
Right.
And so there's 2 approaches here. You can either go, this is a skill that this person wants to develop and they want to work on it.
Right.
Or it's like, this is not something that they really are interested in and we have to kind of work around it.
Yeah. My casual recommendation, and it's okay if it gets ignored, would be the former. My recommendation would be to have the singer be the spokesperson, because that's just, it's what the audience expects. You don't have to get over anything. That would be my suggestion.
And the thing that we always talk about is that your job as a band, and if you're the person holding the microphone, is that you need to be the thermostat for the room, not the thermometer.
Right.
So you need to be the person who sets the energy level. And if you're not sure what that means, do some research. Go watch some other bands that that are really good at that and kind of take notes at what they're doing. Watch live videos of your favorite groups where, their lead singer is really adept at that.
Well, and in this case, we got Tom Petty to look at, and he's a master of this. He can hold a stadium in the palm of his hand. So go watch that.
Also, from just a person who's like seen him before, that wasn't really his deal.
Yeah.
The closest artist that I can kind of like equate him with is kind of Joe Satriani, where he's just kind of like, hey, it's really cool that you're here, and we're gonna play some music, and we hope that you enjoy it. Like, it is very like, there's this humility to it that is like really, first off, it's unwarranted, because like you're watching a absolute master at their craft do what they do. But it is very much kind of like this isn't a big deal. You can kind of whatever.
All right. So as a tribute act, you can cultivate that vibe too.
Sure. If it is something where you are like doing a straight impersonation, go watch archive footage of the way their live show goes.
Yeah.
Because listen, everybody's got a bit, and whether you like it or not, there's a thing that they say at every single show, and it is just, it works, and so it sticks.
Yeah. On Roger Waters' last tour, toward the end of the night, and it happened at the show that I went to here in Greensboro, but then I saw a video of it a lot of other places. I've done the whole show, and then like we got a close up of him on all of the monitors that are all around the stadium, and he says, "Is it all love in this room tonight?" And there was, when I was there, they're completely. It touched me deeply, and then I saw a video of it from like 20 other venues, and I was like, "You're cheating on me, Roger."
Yeah. And that is something that you will notice, is like, if you're a fan of a particular artist and they go on tour, you start watching all the social posts, it is the same thing over.
Totally identical.
And so kind of let that go.
Yeah.
Because that is just kind of the reality of this work.
Yes.
This is the best town we've played in, or, you can say this is the best venue we've played in, or whatever.
Yeah.
The other thing that popped into my head is like, a funny person. You may know a person who's like professionally funny, like they do stand up or whatever. Mm-hmm. reach out to them and be like, hey, is there anything that you can punch up? Is there anything that like we could be saying in between songs that you think would be entertaining? Or like, here's the thing that I was thinking of, and maybe they could just go through it and again punch it up, just kind of like
God,
find
or even like
beats to hit.
I'll throw you a few dollars to come to my show and just take some notes. What could I be throwing out?
I think a lot of people aren't willing to reach out from like a non-traditional
Yeah,
set of resources. So find choreographers, find funny people,
yeah,
find
yeah.
theater folks that are in your circle that could just, you don't necessarily have to take what they say as gospel, but maybe they've got some insight that you just don't have, and take the bits and pieces that make sense for your project or your show, incorporate those, and just the way that we get good is by taking little bits of information over time and iterating and iterating and iterating and
Yeah.
iterating and iterating until you've got this thing that just can't be denied. But like thinking about other groups, like successful groups that aren't necessarily have really vocal lead singers, I don't know if Mason from the Pork Tornadoes talks a whole lot between songs.
Hmm.
From a personality standpoint, it doesn't seem like that's the kind of thing that he
I think
does.
from the live streams I've seen of them, they kind of talk amongst themselves
Yeah.
sometimes between songs.
It's more of like an ensemble
Yeah,
deal.
but
Yeah.
mostly it's like just bang 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 between songs. There's not
Yeah.
room for talking.
And there is no right answer.
No.
You know, if there's a tuning break, the way that we've always done it is like if you're looking at like a set list and you're doing like a, let's say, a 2-hour set, you're going to take these breaks regardless. They're tuning breaks, they're guitar. I got to take this guitar off. I got
Water
to change
breaks, whatever. For the
whatever,
singer, yeah.
and find the things that you want to talk about during that time. So it could be information about the band, social media stuff. Put your camera up against the QR code to find out more about us. Thanks to the venue. Tip your bartenders. Give it up for this staff. We've got X more songs. There are particular subjects that you can talk through that don't necessarily require you to be clever or whatever. You're just filling dead air, basically.
Yeah.
And that dead air can be filled with you talking or the band talking, or you can find some other creative way of filling that space. It could be instrumental interludes or sound clips if you're doing like era stuff like we are. There's so many options for you that don't involve your singer unenthusiastically going, "Are you guys ready to rock and roll?"
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I don't know why that's lame, but everybody having fun tonight. That works. But are you ready to rock and roll? Doesn't that lands bad.
Well, rock is no longer a verb that is acceptable in modern society.
Wow.
I don't think.
That's harsh but accurate.
But if you're asking like, are you ready to rock? Like, I don't know. Am I?
Let me check in.
I mean, it's like it's 8:45. Like, I feel like maybe that.
Just got my kid to bed. Am I ready to rock? Let me. What are the alternatives?
Yeah.
To rocking.
If I want to rock and roll all night, do I have to party every day?
These are
the questions.
My wife is a font of misheard lyrics, and what she thought that song was I want to rock and roll all night and part of every day.
Part of every day, yeah.
Not the whole rest of the day, which is too much. It's a part. That's the right amount.
Yeah.
She also thought the Beatles had a chicken to ride. She's got a chicken to ride. She's got a chicken to ride. My baby donkey.
My baby.
Yeah.
It's all about chickens and donkeys, man.
Yeah. She also thought she was wasting away again in my gorilla suit, looking for that lost zipper I caught. Yeah. Good times.
Lots to work with there.
It's been my life. Anyway, the point is, Banter. It's both more complicated and less than you think, and it doesn't take a lot to produce a lot of result, but you got to be strategic and targeted and ready to have something come out of your mouth that's great without having pre-gamed it.
Yeah. Also, be sure to not get locked in on something.
Yeah.
Because the same joke, there is a threshold, and if you say the joke too many times, it stops being funny. A good one that I really enjoy doing is, here's another song we wrote in the cover band world.
Listen, in my last project, we had a whole shtick we did as we were setting up I Will Survive, where my co-frontman claimed to have written it, and I like argued with him. You did not. No, and it changed it got a little, it escalated every time. So we often had the same people coming to our stuff. We had fans that were coming to all our things, and so we couldn't deploy the same joke exactly the same way. But here's a song that I wrote after I was broken up with back in the 80s. You didn't. He didn't. Don't believe him. That's not. Yeah, I did. I wrote it. I don't know. It wasn't a smart joke, but it worked. And then we kind of changed the way we deployed it, but we never talked about it. We always kind of surprised ourselves with how it was going to happen.
Yeah.
I sometimes preempted him. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're about to hear a lie. This man's about to tell you he wrote this song. It's not true. I did. I wrote this song. You didn't.
You have to be careful about that, because the things that are funny to you on stage may not carry over.
For sure. Always a risk.
Yeah, I was in a group where when we were doing the classic country thing, and we were doing "You Never Even Call Me by My Name." Yeah. There's that whole break where it's like, my good friend Steve Goodwin wrote this song, and and we would hand that up so hard, because our singer would be, and like me and the other guitar player, like, is that what he said? Are you sure that happened? And it got. I mean, some nights it went fully off the rails, and like that interlude was like 10 minutes long, and we were just absolutely out in space.
At some point you're just entertaining yourself, but
exactly. Yeah. So you can get away with the, hey, here's another song we wrote. And when we did Africa, we'd be like, here's a song by a little band called Weezer. Just like throwaway stuff. Yeah. But again, you get a couple of those, and then you have to figure out a way to get you got to find something else.
Yeah.
So, take opportunities, think about the stuff that like cracks you up at rehearsal, but like look at it from an outside perspective and make sure that it's not something that's so insular that it's lost on people who are just casually observing. But there's no right answer. It's trial and error. It's all the different things that you can try out. And listen, I mean, this is just what stand-ups do. You try something until you get a response, and if you don't get a response, guess what? You don't do that one anymore.
Yeah, try something else.
You use the Wang Chung rule. Give it a couple of tries, and if it doesn't land after a couple, then throw it out.
For sure. Here's the other thing. Like, I think that my advice to somebody who's doing improv, if you were in an improv show and never went to an improv class, if you suddenly somehow found yourself on stage about to do improv, never having studied it, my piece of advice would be chill out. The audience already trusts you. You already have everything you need to know, and believe that when you open your mouth, something's going to come out that'll be working. I think a lot of this banter stuff is about the distance between me and the audience. It's about the distrust of the audience, that I have for how the audience is going to respond to me. There's a lot of fear in it, I think, for a lot of people. And I don't know, you and I may have done enough shows that like, I don't get stage fright anymore. I have a sense of setup anxiety that's about the work of setup. But for me, like, I'm the minute I get to downbeat, I am 100% home. There's like no disconnect between me and the audience. I have no fear of what they're thinking of me. That used to happen to me, but it's totally burned out by now. Just the number of sheer stage hours I've spent.
Yeah.
But I think this question kind of speaks to somebody who hasn't maybe been through that process yet and is still kind of on stage like, oh my God, they're looking at me.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing that just kind of occurred to me is that what people are looking for is authenticity.
True.
And so even if the only thing that you say is tied to just gratitude, like thank you for being here, like that is mileage enough.
For sure.
So
no, listen, it's amazing to be here. Thanks so much for coming.
It,
Yeah, that's great. Say that. That's great.
If nothing else really feels like you, just be grateful.
Yeah, we're so proud to be here. Thanks so much for coming.
It's so cool that you guys hung out with us.
Yeah, yes, that's a great direction to lean. Yeah,
you did
everything it
took.
Did
all the things.
Everything it took for you to be here. You're so great. Thank you so much. You've been so awesome tonight.
Totally. So
we've loved playing for you. That's the thing. When I take a break in my acoustic show, I often go up to a couple of tables that have been engaging with me and tell them like, man, you guys are so great to play for. Oh my God. I'm getting so much back from you guys. I love it. That table's going to stay till close. That table's not leaving anywhere. Cause I've just said to them, like, I need you. You're awesome. Thank you. Thank you for what you're giving me. Yeah. If you can put some of that out in the crowd, that's powerful.
Yeah, I mean that's another thing I really enjoy. Like in between sets, if somebody's really like being engaging and stuff,
Mm,
I'm like, you get the MVP for tonight. You get game ball because you're really making this fun for me
right,
or for
right.
us,
Yeah.
and I appreciate it so much.
Yes.
And you don't have to wait to do that in between songs. You can do that on
Sure.
stage. Another thing that we do as far as like keeping engagement up, again, this is an eras thing. This is a thing that works for us, may not work for everybody. We do giveaways.
Mm,
So 80s band, it's really easy. I go to Target, I go to Walmart. The $5 DVD bin is full of Breakfast Club, E.T., Beetlejuice, like all of the
sure. Yeah.
classics. You get a handful of those, and then you get like an 80s trivia set, and you just start asking questions, and then like, oh, you get that. So that's a way of filling that time
Hmm.
that doesn't necessarily involve you being creative or kind of like trying to think of something on the spot. It's just a way of filling that time.
Yeah. There is some MC skill involved in that, but
Yep.
it's not like you don't have to come up with something clever.
Right. It's like, who wants a free pair of sunglasses? Who wants a DVD? Who wants free stuff? Just period.
Yeah.
You know,
Everybody wants free stuff.
it's easy. So kind of look through everything in a kind of holistic way, because it doesn't necessarily have to be, I've got to be the most charismatic, sexy front person, people like eating out of the palm of my hand. Just be engaging,
Yep.
be genuine,
Don't be boring.
authentic. Like, just make sure people are having fun.
Yeah.
Like your show is like people coming over to your house for a party. Make sure that they've all got their drinks topped off, that they know where the hors d'oeuvres are, and they can pick up their. I'm running out of
All those things.
metaphors.
Just all the things. Just all the things.
Yeah. Be a good host.
Be a good host, because that's what you are. You're throwing a party and you're the host, and you are welcoming and inviting and bringing them in. All of that.
Put a bow on that. We're done. That's it.
I love how we were headed toward a finish there, and then we were like, oh, wait, we have more ideas. That was good.
Yes, because we are so professional. We have this all mapped out
Oh, yeah.
ahead of time. This is not just a stream of consciousness kind of thing.
Not the
you know?
slightest. Not the slightest.
Nope. Ever.
Yeah. Neither of us are improv kids.
I've done it. I definitely feel like it would be a net positive just for this to be able to kind of like jump into things. And I feel like we're good with our like, a bit pops up. We're pretty good at yes-anding each other.
Yeah.
But that is a thing that I've definitely thought about. Like, I feel like an improv class would make me a better podcast host. But it also is maybe a more obnoxious person in general also. So you have to kind of weigh those two things.
Maybe.
Absolutely. Big thanks to Adam and Jesse Harmon and Confused Breakfast for dropping into the live stream and saying, hey,
good to see you guys.
Man, we're making headway on the stream stuff. I really appreciate, folks checking in with us. And this is a non-scheduled time because the holiday weekends, it's tough.
Yeah.
We had a lot of stuff going on, but
thanks also to Kent Anderson and Petty Larceny. If you're in Central Mass, you should hire them. They know what they're doing.
100%.
They know what they're doing, and then don't be judgy about their banter. They're working on it.
That's right. You know what we're going to say? And you know what? Now you can take that.
Quote it.
Clip it.
Yeah.
Put it in your promo.
That's right. That's right. Cover Band Confidential said that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we are, of course, very important in this world.
Crucial.
So
people listen to us.
If you want us to say something about your band, you should send us an email. We've gotten a lot of them this week, and it's made it really easy for us to come up with stuff to talk about on the podcast because there's just been good stuff. The next one about the tribute band, again, may not make it into next week's. I think it's just there was a lot.
There's a lot happening in that question.
Yep. So we might have to either break that up or do it offline and find something else to
talk
about.
Or fence off some pieces of it as not answerable. Yeah.
Yep. Totally. But big thanks to everybody for tuning in onto the podcast and the live stream and all that good stuff. And yeah, we just appreciate the snot out of you.
Always.
Go ahead and call it for this week. In Atlanta, Georgia, I'm Adam Johnson.
In Greensboro, North Carolina, I'm Dan Ray.
If you want to support the show, you can do all the stuff that Mike's about to tell you. But you've been listening to the Cover Band Confidential podcast for the week of May 31st, 2024.